Welcome to Brewsers, podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I'm your host, Roddy John, and today we talk to Nikita. We talk all about how she got into pro wrestling, her journey in the business, and so much more. This is such a fun conversation. Nikita is absolutely amazing, and she is on her rise in the world of pro wrestling, and I can't wait to see what's next for her. And you'll find out here in a second what's going on with her, but first, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. It comes out twice a week. You get even more information about our guests, fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast, all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is Nikita. I would like to welcome to the show, Nikita. How are you doing tonight, ma'am?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So for those listening, kind of paint us a word picture. I mean, I can see you right now, but other people can't. What's going on around you? Where are you at? What's happening?
Just in my house, in my bedroom, just hanging out. It's 8:30 p.m. where I am, so
Yeah.
just winding down for the night.
There you go. So let's go all the way back in time. What is your earliest memory of pro wrestling?
Oh my gosh. Probably being around 8 years old and watching The Rock cutting some kind of promo back on I think it was maybe even was it Raw? Maybe it was SmackDown, the early days of SmackDown, but definitely one of my earliest memories was The Rock. That was as cliche as it is, that was my moment of wow, that guy is so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's gotten uncool ever since then either.
No, he's gotten cooler somehow.
Yeah.
How he's doing more and more and he's better and better.
And well, so I'm not going to say he brought back bell bottoms, but he brought bell bottoms back this year. As we're recording this, is 2024. He brought them back this year in a way that nobody else could have done. And I was like, thank you. I think we need more of this, because I'm not saying I'm built like The Rock by any stretch of the imagination, because who really is? But when you've got thick thighs like that, and then you're showing those off, but then you flare it out at the bottom to not show off your skinny calves or anything, you're killing it. You're showing off what you need to, and then not showing off the rest of it.
Oh, 100%. But honestly, I think he is one of the few people who can pull it off, and I think
True.
if you want anything to be popular, he'll make it happen.
He could come out in a burlap sack and he would be like, "Oh, look how cool that sack is. That's so awesome."
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I have a segment on the show. I call it the 5 count. It's just 5 random questions. Normally I do it at the end, but it's a nice icebreaker as well. So let's start it out here.
Sure.
Okay. What for dinner guest would you have, dead or alive?
Honestly, so again, it would be The Rock.
Obviously. Yeah. I mean,
yes. And for me, it's a huge I love that he pretty much anything that he touches turns to gold. The man's brilliant. He tried wrestling, huge success there. He tried acting, huge success. Production company doing great things.
Gigantic success. Yeah.
Oh yeah, his tequila is amazing.
Yeah.
He's got some energy drink. Everything he does, it hits the jackpot. And I'm like, okay, I want to talk to him and just see what's his mindset? What's your business
brain?
plan?
Yeah.
How do you get to that point? Because he seems so successful with everything he does. And I truly think he's just a man that can do it all, right? He became famous through wrestling, and this year he was named the most followed actor on TikTok in the world. He broke a Guinness World Record or something like that. So the man's got it going on. So
yeah. Well, you got 3 others. Who else would you have?
Okay. One of the other people will be my mom. She has passed away and it's been years. So I would love to have my mom as a dinner guest because she passed when I was younger, not super young, but her early 20s. So there's a lot of things I didn't get to ask her, and it would be cool to kind of go back in time and talk to her about many different things in life, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last one, I think this one's a bit harder for me because I feel like I want to have some kind of, a Marilyn Monroe or some kind of female influence from years ago, because I think it would be so cool as a female just to talk to somebody that was a trailblazer from the past and see their experiences, of what was going on back when she was trying to, do something with herself. So I think that would be my last one.
I do love that too, that aspect of it as well, because when you're inviting dead people obviously to dinner
Mhm.
nowadays, it's like you almost want to stop and be like, let's catch you up on what the world has happened since you've been gone. And
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, no pun intended to Kelly Clarkson, which I would also love it as a dinner guest as well. But
Mhm.
like, what happened between the time you left the world and now you're entering it for a night? Like, it's a weird situation, but at the same time, you want to catch them up and be like, all right, this is everything that has happened since you've been gone. And then, like, now we can move forward with dinner, I
Yeah,
guess.
and then it would be cool to get their take on it to be like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Because some of those things, like going back to like Marilyn, right? Like it's been years. So
Yeah.
someone like that, it's like, oh my God, like has she even imagined half the stuff that we have going on
Oh,
now?
not even
Like,
close. Yeah. And then people still talk about her death like it's like she didn't accidentally OD, or she was like this whole conspiracy that's around it too. So yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah. If you owned a liquor company, brewery, winery, or coffee shop, which one would you own and what would the name be?
I think I would own a coffee shop
Hmm.
because I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I'm a huge tea drinker, but I love the
Okay.
idea of a coffee shop cafe.
Yeah.
Um, when I was younger, a bunch of my high school friends and I, there's like a coffee shop across the street. We love spending our lunches there. I think the environment for me is just so nice. I think anybody can go to a coffee shop and feel good, happy, welcome. Like people
Yeah.
that are working on their business stuff can go in there. People that just want to hang out, some friends, everybody wants a quick pick me up, right? So I think it would be, a good spot to hang out. But in terms of the name, that's a good question. I think it would be something like books and coffee or something. And I'd
Oh,
offer
that's
like
good.
a section or something, just so people can go hang out, relax, read a
No, I
book
love
or
that. Yeah.
yeah.
I think Barnes and Noble didn't lean too far into that as much as they should have, and been like, yeah, we're a bookstore and we also have a coffee shop, but we should really combine them more into where you have more of a coffee shop than you do a bookstore.
Yeah, and same like Canada has like a chapters Indigo thing, but they have a
Oh, there
Starbucks
you go. Yeah.
inside. And it's like, the Starbucks is inside, but it's like Starbucks is Starbucks, right? Like it's like its
Right.
own separate entity, right? So it's very different, but I think it would be cool to have that. Like people would love to go.
Yeah. What was your first car?
It was a very shitty Ford Focus. And it was one of those where like the transmission, it was like a dual clutch transmission that
Oh,
it was like a new thing for them. So they
yeah.
tried doing it and obviously didn't do a great job. So they recalled it 100 times and like my car stalled in the middle of the road. And there
Oh,
are other people who had the same issue, except their car stalled on the highway. So I'm lucky mine did.
oh goodness.
Yeah, but it was like every 6 months, it was like, oh yeah, you need to come get like a new transmission. And you're like, okay, yeah, great.
Cool, fantastic. I've had to pay for one. I'm glad you got them for free and didn't have to pay for that because that is not cheap.
Oh yeah, no, that would be terrible.
Yeah. Who or what inspires you?
Yeah, it's interesting to ask that question because I feel like when I was younger, I could look at, celebrities or people in professional wrestling,
Right.
let's say, that would inspire me. But I think more so now, I'm less inspired by people and I'm more inspired just by kind of wanting to do good in the world. Like I think these days in the world, we're going less social, more social media. People
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
interact as much together. So I think for me, what inspires me is just kind of seeing people be people with each other.
Yeah.
Like if you ever walk down the street and somebody talks to you randomly and that ends up being like a really good interaction, you feel good. Like I want to have moments like that. I want to have feel good moments where it's like
Yes.
whether it's just like connecting with nature or doing something that just kind of makes you be like, oh yeah, like the world's a little bit better right now, not to be it just
Exactly.
I feel like I think for me it's more so doing good and making sure other people feel good around me. So I
I
think
love
that's
that.
what inspires me.
There was yesterday, so there's a grocery chain down here in Texas called HEB. They're
Mhm.
taking over the entire state, and I'm curious how much more they're going to take over in the world. But there was a older couple that was coming up. The man was pushing the cart, and he was saying he was apologizing to his wife. He said, "I'm sorry, I'm not moving so fast today." She said, "It's better that you're moving at all than not moving whatsoever." And I was like, "That's amazing! I love that so much. Like that made my
Yeah,
heart happy. It
that's
was
so
good."
nice.
Yeah. Again, it's if you're paying attention and not always on your phone, like you said, with social media or anything else that's happening on your phone, and you're paying
Mm.
attention to the world, there's so many great things around you that is happening on a regular basis that you might be missing out on not paying attention to the world and just paying attention to your phone.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And what would you tell your 17-year-old self?
I would tell my 17-year-old self, just stop doubting yourself. You
Yeah.
got this. You know, like I think there's just so much self-doubt that comes with trying new things, and I
Yes.
think everybody can get in their own head, but I think just at the end of the day, do not doubt yourself. There's people way less qualified than you doing what you want to be doing. So,
Yes. All
but
the time.
yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, so you got inspired by The Rock. I mean, who
Mhm.
doesn't on a regular basis? But obviously, at an early age, where did the becoming a fan become into? I think I could do this myself.
So that came on really early for me. So like I said, I started when I was 8 watching it,
Right.
and that's when I kind of got very inspired. But I think by the time I was 10 or 11, it was like a full-blown obsession. And I was like, this is like what I'm meant to do. This is what I want to do. Like, this is it for me. And it was
Yes.
just one of those where like you kind of, as a kid, you're like, I want to do this, but you're also trying to be realistic, being like, okay, these people are on TV on a major company. Like, I don't know how
Yeah.
accessible that is, right? But it's still one of those where if people ask me like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was like a pro wrestler. And then going from like 11 to like 13, 14, the answer wasn't really changing. And
Yeah.
then that's when I kind of started looking into schools. Like I knew I had to be like 16, 17 for me to start. I think for with parental consent, it's 16,
Yeah.
which my parents would absolutely not consent to. So I knew I had to be closer to 18. So, I kind of started looking at schools, and that's when I was like, okay, there's schools in the area, like reputable schools. And I was like, yeah, this is 100% what I'm going to do. Because at no point was it like, oh, I want to do this. And then like a few years passed, I'm like, oh, actually, I want to do something that's like a more traditional career. Like it still remained, I just want to do wrestling. So.
What is it about wrestling that really kind of caught you? Like, I mean, obviously, I mean, The Rock is next level, but like, was it the athleticism? Was it the performing? Was it the like? Were you kind of like a shy kid that like saw that and it was like, I want to be that, just because of the fact that you wanted to really, be a performance artist, or like, what was it about the whole wrestling situation that really kind of got you?
It's hard to kind of pinpoint one thing. I think I was just so captivated by everything about it. Like I loved
Mm,
storylines. I
yeah.
loved, like you said, the athleticism. I thought it was so cool. Like I loved that it was acting, it was performing, it was you
Mhm.
had to be strong. Like everyone you looked at was in good shape. Like it felt like something that was almost like up on a next level to accomplish. Like it almost felt supernatural. And I was like, wow, like you're a human being that possesses so many cool different talents. Like you're really an all-in-one kind of package. And I thought it would be so cool to be someone who got to work out, look good, take care of myself, go out there, like, like perform, do all these storylines. Like the acting part was fun. Like I never considered just acting, but I loved the athleticism and like not to say the violence, but it was so cool to see it being not traditional MMA, but it was like you put who doesn't like a drama that ends up in some kind of beating, right? Like I thought it was
Right.
cool that it ends up being two things like that. And you can suspend your disbelief enough to have like cage matches and like silly rules about stuff, but it ends up being so cool and so fun and so captivating. So I
Right.
thought just like the totality of that, I was like, yeah, like I'd love to have like a ladder match or like being like a little kid, I'm like, yeah, I would do this.
Well, so once you trying to figure out how to say this. So going through the schools, obviously you take your first bumps. Obviously, those are probably a rude awakening as to what the sport really is ahead of you. But then once you get out of that and have your first matches, and then kind of not even tour a little bit, but like go to different cities and try different things out. Like, where was it that you were like, okay, yeah, no, I